Alright, in this tutorial we're going to learn how to use the alignment tool and also the distributing tool, which are in the same palette. What I've got here is a bunch of squares and shapes that I'm going to select to show you how some of these tools work. I've got a series of 4 squares here. I'm going to select all 4. And I'm going to come up into my control panel, and there are different ways to align these objects. We can align it to one of the selections. We can align it to the margins around the outside of the page. We can align it to the physical size of the page, meaning the edges. Or if we've got more than one page showing, 2 pages at once, that's also known as a spread, we can use that to align it. For right now, let's make sure that we've set this up to align to selection. And you can see there's some different alignment tools here. I can align things flush left, so it looks at the leftmost object right here, and when I click on it, it lines it up with the left side of that object. If I undo that, I can go back and look at the object's center point and align it with the center. I'm going to undo that again. Undo, remember, is Apple Z or Alt Z. And I can align it to the right. Okay, so those are my 3 choices as far as an alignment from left to right. You can do the same thing from top to bottom. Align the tops of all the objects. Align them at their center point, or align them at the bottom. Okay? When we go back up here and to this area to decide how to align them, if I choose align to margins, instead of aligning, when I click flush left, instead of aligning it to the object, it's going to align it to this margin here. Same goes for aligning it to the right. If I align to the center, it just centers it inside the page. You can see how that affects alignment vertically as well. If I select align to page, you'll be able to see how it aligns with the sides of the pages. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and delete these, and I'm going to select these 4 squares down here. And right now, going to make sure it's aligned to the selection. If I've got some objects that are almost lined up but aren't quite, it's very easy to come in here and just say align it to the top or align it to the bottom, and then all the objects are lined. You can see here how the objects don't have even space between them. They're lined up from a vertical standpoint, but horizontally they don't look so hot. So I'm going to go up to my window menu and click on it, and then I'm going to go down to Object and Layout and select the Align panel. That brings up a new panel. You can see how it's got the same align objects that are showing up in my control panel, but additionally it's also got a Distribute Objects panel right here. Okay. One thing that's really nice is I can come down and check on this box where it says Use Spacing, and I can say I would like a quarter of an inch, 0.25 inches in between my objects. So if I type in 0.25 and hit enter, it accepts that, and then I can go ahead and distribute that amount of spacing in between my objects. So each object has exactly a quarter of an inch between it. Okay? Let's go down to the bottom of this bottom set of objects. I'm going to deselect my box. A lot of times you may want to look at the objects and space them out according to the width of the furthest object to the left and the furthest object to the right. So maybe first what I'll do is make sure they're lined up top to bottom. Looks like they are. And then I'm going to come in here and click on the Distribute Horizontal Centers. It's going to look at the center of each object and distribute an equal amount of space between the center of the object. You can see that objects that are thicker and objects that are thinner, that causes an overlap. So that might not be the best option. So let's go ahead and select distribute the objects from the left edges, and that gets me a little bit better distribution. You can also select from the right. You can see how it adjusts that. But if I want to make sure there's the exact same amount between each object, remember I've got to go down and click on this Use Spacing, and then I can dictate Maybe I want 1/8 of an inch between these. So again, I type that in, hit enter, and then click on the horizontal distribution, and it will put 1/8 of an inch in between the objects. Okay? I can do that same thing with vertical spacing. I'm going to go back and select these objects, bring them up a little bit, and I'm going to click on the distribute vertical space, and that creates 1/8 of an inch vertical spacing in between them. You can see how it kind of staggers them. If I want them to line up, I can always go up to my align objects and tell it, hey, line up on the left hand side. And now I've got a set of 4 boxes that'll all line up vertically, and then also have a little bit of space in between them. So that's a little bit about the align tool. If you want some more information about that, I think it's always a good idea to look at the help menu. I'm going to show you how to do that. If you come down to help and InDesign help, it will boot up a browser and take you to kind of the welcome page. And if we come in here, we click on, in the search box, if we click on distribute or distributing objects and then hit enter, takes just a second, but it'll show you some articles that have to deal with that. I'm going to click on this top link, and you can see how it has a little explanation about the align panel, and then it talks a little bit more about distributing objects. So as you're learning about InDesign, if you have questions, it's always a good idea to turn to the help menu. That's one of the first places I look. We'll shut that down. This concludes our little tutorial about using the align tool and the distribution tool.